Hello, GTFOH Nation. This week is our first installment of fan interviews with my two Spence. This week I have with me PabloSchred, or as he'd pronounce it, Pablo. Pabs, would you mind introducing yourself to the people? Let them know a little bit about yourself and who you are to recognize.
Sure. So my name is PabloSchred, also known as Pablo Honey. Not my actual name, but it's a kind of online alias I have. Born and raised in the Western Isles of Scotland, so there's not been many people around. We don't have McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, casinos, movie theaters, etc., clothing stores. So basically, a lot of my childhood has involved music and video games. Basically, it's been just a massive part of my life in general. But growing up in such an isolated place, there was a lot of time for just music and video games. Really, yeah. To Rec, I'm his moderator on Twitch. But starting to get to know him a bit better. So hopefully, a friend? Question mark maybe. But yeah, I've been listening to his
Friend
music.
question mark.
Yeah, question mark. I hope so. But yeah, I've been listening to his and Mayday's music for years now, years and years. So yeah.
Excellent. And that will bring us to the first really main question of the interview. Which is how were you introduced to Wrekonize and Mayday? How did you discover them? What were your initial impressions? Even if it was negative, that's okay.
So my kind of earliest memory now, going through high school, well, not high, yeah, going through high school and just school in general. A lot of people here, the music taste wasn't really hip hop. There wasn't a lot of hip hop heads in school, and if it was mainly like mainstream, maybe like Eminem, stuff like that. The kind of most popular stuff that was banging at the time. And I remember being in my registration class one day, and my school friend, who then turned into my roommate, he showed me the song Creep Fest by Twista and T-Pain on his phone. I was like, oh, dang, this is really fast rapping. Like, what it reminded me of is in traditional Scottish music, there is a thing called Push Biel, which is in the Gaelic language, which is mouth music, but it's like fast, repetitive music. But this was English and it was fast, so I took a liking to the fast rap music then, and then he introduced me to Tech Nine, and then I think it was 2011, I believe. I saw the video for the Noose on YouTube, and that's where I first seen Wreck and heard Wreck, and I mean Mayday's in that song, so I was like, damn, like just hearing him in that song, his voice, it was, I don't know, it was like holy, like I don't know, so I enjoyed it, and then it kind of went from there. So yeah.
And so that's mostly, at least for Rex's contribution of the song, that's mostly like a singing song.
Yeah.
Was that different from what your expectations were, or like what you were used to? Because you were saying that you were into like this kind of quick rapping type of thing, and then you have this.
Well, I mean, he introduced me to tech, and then through tech, obviously, I got into the whole Strange. So I started getting introduced to like Chris Calico, who, again, a song like Spaz, he can pop off, but he can also, I mean, the song Hallelujah by Are the Rugged Man, like he's singing, he's singing. But yeah, so I kind of just started diving into who was on Strange, and kind of started listening to more Mayday and uh more Wreck through that. But my first memory of listening to Wreck just on his own was in 2013, when The War Within came out. So I've got like vivid memories. And what's funny is I made this graphic a long time ago, but these are Instagram posts all from the summer of 2013. And it's literally like, yeah, me listening to The War Within. Now, I just moved home because I was I had failed college and experienced drug-induced psychosis. So my life wasn't doing very well because my parents separated when I was around 15, and kind of from 15 to my kind of early 20s, my life was pretty much falling apart. When I moved away from home and I was living in Glasgow and I was going to music college, yeah, I was pretty much a drug addict and just yeah, just not doing very well. So I ended up having drug-induced psychosis, which ain't fun. I could do a whole episode on that. But their music kind of helped me through that time. And The War Within, when I came home after my first, I've had two, by the way, of drug-induced psychosis, but listening to The War Within, it really, I don't know, I'll just never forget the summer of 2013, kind of chilling with my nephew playing COD Zombies and The War Within just on repeat, on repeat. I loved it. So
Yeah, that brings us to the second question, which you at least partially answered. What has Mayday and Rex music meant to you? How has it impacted your life?
so I suppose as a musician myself, if I quickly move out of the way, you can see in the background a bunch of guitars. I've always loved music to the point where I've got music tattooed on me. I've got, a guitar. I've got stuff like that. So it showed me that like artists, especially strange music artists, Tech, he says he writes his life, and I feel in a way Mayday and Rec, they do that as well. So it kind of uh I don't know. I mean, Rex got a song called Anxiety, so it kind of shows me that I'm not alone with my thoughts of some of this stuff, and that you know yeah, it's kind of the music itself, because I'm not much of a lyrics guy. When I listen to music, I usually always focus on what the guitar is doing, being a guitarist. But if there's no guitar or the guitar's super quiet or whatever, I kind of go off the feel of the song, and then I'll pick up on certain words. So How Would You Know by Mayday is, I mean, that's quite a recent song-ish. That's only within the last couple of years. But just I've been so high that I can't come down. I've been so low, I've been underground. But how would you know? Like, that's super, that's like super, I don't know, some of the lyrics do just ring home with me. And over the years, I've made like graphics, stuff like this. That is the wrong one, actually. But there's one of them I made, which is Shortcuts and Dead Ends. But there's the other one, little things I posted on Twitter here and there, but like a lot of their music, it does mean a lot to me. So yeah.
And that's you mentioned something interesting that I caught in there about the guitar thing.
Yeah.
So do you find with a lot of modern hip hop that like Mayday scratches like a particular itch that other hip hop artists don't, since they tend to use guitars a lot more than maybe the average hip hop artist would?
For sure, yeah, for sure. What's funny is like even back when we were listening to, kind of before I listened to a lot of Mayday and Wreck on my own, I remember listening to Welcome to the Midwest by Tech, and I pointed out the guitar line in that song, and my friend's like, "Wait, there's guitar in that song?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I figured out how to play it on guitar. I'm like, "Can you not hear it?" He's like, "Oh yeah, like I do hear it," because they were just too busy listening to the words. So with Mayday having lots, and Rec himself having lots of guitar, it definitely scratches an itch there for sure. Yeah. Because a lot, I mean, nowadays some of the hip hop that's coming out is, you know, mainstream, shall we say, and definitely applies to the masses. But I don't know. There's just something about Mayday and Rec's music that, I mean, even off his new album, Still Around Down. I've like figured out how to play the guitar part just by listening to the song so many times. Like, I love it. So
Yeah, that's definitely one of my top picks off the album as well.
sure.
And yeah, I brought that up because for me that's kind of the same thing. Is I grew up on a lot of rock music, and Tech Nine was one of the first rappers that I got into. And Tech does have like a rock influence for sure to some degree, but I still
Definitely.
found myself kind of lacking on the rock music itch a little bit. And so when I heard "Take Me to Your Leader,"
Yeah.
it was definitely like, oh, like this is something different that I really like. Yeah.
For sure.
And I guess that brings us to number 3, which is how would you rank Wrekonize's albums
Wrekonize's albums,
between his 4?
for me, it's very straightforward to rank these. It's Pressure Point number 1, War Within number 2, Into the Further number 3, and Soiree number 4. Now, just to throw in, out of all his freestyles, the Rexit freestyle was, in my opinion, the perfect bow on top of the entire present of 52 freestyles. But yeah, that's my rating there.
Okay, so you said so you say Pressure Point is number 1.
Yep.
What is it about Pressure Point that you think makes it kind of stand out amongst the other ones?
So it's a full-length album that has no features apart from his family members, and I love that. I love the use of his family members in that. Having his mom and dad in there, and there's clips of him and his sister, his kids, and stuff like that. So I think that's nice, to involve the family. But I think it's just his best work to date. As the years have gone on, his talent's only gotten better. So, musically, it's better. Rhythmically, I think it's better as well. I love the use of the kind of Dr. Kosis to kind of end almost like a trilogy there, it was a trilogy because it started in the War Within. So, yeah, it was just a nice way to round it off. But I think just the versatility of the album as well. There's a lot there, there's a lot of kind of different vibes throughout the album, so yeah, I love it.
Okay, and as the counter to that, why do you think that Soiree for Skeptics doesn't quite meet that same mark?
So the only reason it comes last in the pick there is because I didn't really listen to it. Like, it wasn't up until I think last year I realized One Foot in the Grave was from that album. I've just that's always been a song that I think it was around 2017 I started listening to a lot more, but I never really realized it was from the first album. So yeah, just because it's the one I've listened to the least, I guess, but that's why it comes last.
Okay. So. Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend it. I probably, if you asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I probably would have rated Soiree at the bottom as well. But it hit the 10-year anniversary last year, and Rec went over all of it in a live stream. And as I was listening to it, I was like, man, like I kind of slept on this album. Like, actually, I think I have to revisit my rankings a little bit.
I am sleeping on the album, so I'll need to look into it.
I definitely recommend it for sure. It's a good one.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Okay, so number 4, could you list just a few Mayday and or Rec songs that you feel are particularly like top tier?
So I'm gonna rattle through these because we are going on a bit, but Shortcuts and Dead Ends, Next to Go, Broken Mirror, Into the Further, Be Me, Still Around, We Got Soul, Rise, Last Day Alive, Vibing, Shots Fired, Through the Rain, My Life, Last One Standing, Tabletops, See You Smile, Lost Cause, and Empty. There's a lot there, but yeah.
It's a good list.
Yeah, basically because of the lyrical content, the vibes of them, the beats, the music, the guitar in them as well, and I love certain like cleverness to the music. So, for example, the Into the Further kind of track number, I think it's 2, but the way he introduces the album is by mentioning every song that was on The War Within, as he starts that. So the kind of cleverness, and even in the song Fragile as well, where he says break me down, he kind of like separates the lyrics in, so just the cleverness to his music is I'm kind of in awe of that, I guess. So yeah, it's but there's a massive list. If you haven't heard any of those, listen to them. You wouldn't regret it. So
agreed. Okay. Is there a certain style or genre that you'd like Mayday or Rec to dive into more?
So I think potentially more kind of jazz or swing based stuff would be nice. Potentially as well an acoustic album. Maybe some kind of Linkin Park style stuff. Maybe like also kind of, I don't know if you remember the kind of tech thing Kabosh, the song Little Pills. Yeah, so like that kind of style where it's more kind of rockier. And I definitely like them to explore the more kind of reggae vibes, because they can definitely get that kind of groove on. So yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely seeming like the reggae is becoming more of part of their like concrete style, I guess.
for
How I would
sure,
maybe think of it.
for sure, yeah.
It's just kind of underlying.
Yeah.
Okay, and so our next one's a question from Rack. He wants
Okay.
to know what are a few other artists that you'd list as your favorites.
So favorites, you can see his bucket and his mask in the background there, and I also have a canvas of him, and I also have him tattooed on my arm, as well as one of his songs tattooed on my arm, and that is a guitarist called Buckethead. Now, he's very unique in the fact he wears a mask and a KFC bucket on his head. But he's got over 1,000 songs. The guy is a complete workhorse. Some of his stuff is pretty terrible. It's like ambient noise and just almost like horror movie soundtracky, like just ambient stuff. But he's also composed some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard. He also played for Guns N' Roses back in the early 2000s and wrote most of their Chinese Democracy album. But if you don't know Buckethead, check him out. A rapper I kind of like is NF, because he does kind of the real thing. He kind of gives you life on a plate, kind of how it is. I like that. But I'm also into like metal and rock. So Trivium are definitely my favorite metal band. I'd say there's a band called Polyphia who they kind of incorporate kind of virtuosic playing in terms of guitar and bass and drums, but add kind of hip hop beats in the background. So Polyphia, that's Polyphia, Polyphia, very good band. Then Bob Marley, I love me some reggae. So Bob Marley, his music's just great. And then the rest of the Strange roster, past and present. Yeah, I love them all. So
Awesome. Thank you very much for being here with me today, Pablo.
No problem.
And well, I guess I'll leave it with you. Is there any final remarks you'd like to leave for Wrekonize, Mayday, or the listeners of the GTFOH podcast?
Sure. So it's first off, it's been super nice to get involved with the Wrecking Crew. I've only been in for a couple months now, but it's honestly been a really good past couple months. But to Mayday and Wreck, without their music existing, some tough times in my life probably would have been a lot tougher. So thank you. Keep doing what you do. And at the end of the day, we're all just like 7.8 billion people trying to figure this thing called life out. So, but as Tech says in the Rit song, Say No More, he says on a little segment, he says, just do you and the reward will be greater. So I like that. Just do you.